Nebraska's offseason is fully underway, and some top-tier recruits have started to schedule visits to Lincoln to check out the Cornhuskers and Matt Rhule. So in this video, we're going to go over a couple of these guys. Who are they? What position they play? What are they ranked? Along with when are they visiting with the Cornhuskers, and some other tidbits that you won't find anywhere else on YouTube. So real quick, if you like the content, please hit the like button on this video. It's completely free and it helps me out, along with subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on any more Nebraska football content this offseason. But without further ado, let's get into it, talking about Husker recruiting. And you're going to hear a lot more recruiting talk over the next couple months. It really starts to pick up in April, May, June, and July. So we're going to start to go over some of the April visitors today, specifically in early April, starting it off with Noah McHale, 5-star linebacker out of California. I mean, we had to start off the video with a 5-star. No way else to do it. But you watch him on film. Again, plays that linebacker spot. 6'3", 220, explosive kid. And the offer list reflects that. Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. Everybody in the country wants this guy. And this tells you a couple things about Nebraska and their recruiting philosophies. One, they're trying to get a pipeline back in California. They've really went hard in the Golden State the last couple months, extending a lot of offers and getting a couple interests back. So they're really starting to bring back Calibraska and tap into some recruits that Nebraska really hasn't got in the last 5 or so years. Not only does it tell you that, but it tells you what Matt Rhule and Tony White are looking for in linebackers. Gone are the days of Nebraska one-trick pony linebackers where they could run a 4.9 40 and, oh, sure, they can tackle really well, but yeah, they can't make these athletically gifted plays. What Matt Rhule and Tony White want, however, are these athletes, guys who can play all over the defense, guys who can play more than one position. They can play different spots at linebacker. Heck, they can even play in the secondary if needed. That's what you get in a guy with Noah McHale, a guy who can play all over the defense. Sticking it with the linebackers, another guy who's going to visit with the Cornhuskers in early April, we have Dawson Merritt out of Kansas, top 150 player in the country, listed at 6'3", 220. And again, another jack-of-all-trades type of guy. We can play him anywhere on this defense, at that will, at the Mike, at the Sam, heck, at the Jack spot. Anywhere on the defense, Dawson Merritt can play. He's also a great edge rusher as well and just has a great motor. And I've talked about Kansas a lot in the last couple of videos, but we really need to tap into Kansas, especially in this class, because that talent is just getting better in that state southern to us. Again, not only do you want to lock down Nebraska for the foreseeable future, you want to lock down the surrounding states, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, North Dakota, Colorado. Those are the type of states that Nebraska also needs to go after because there's a lot of talent there. And when we talk about Kansas, they have a lot of 4-stars in the class of 2025. It's probably the best recruiting class we've seen from that state probably ever. So Nebraska really needs to get into there, and you make a good stride with Dawson Merritt. Another guy who's expected to come on campus in early April is another 4-star playing the cornerback spot at Charles Bass out of Illinois, 6'1", 190. And again, you watch him on film, one of the more physical corners. And you see Matt Rhule and what he's going for as well in his cornerbacks. He wants bigger corners, guys who can play all over the defense as well. Again, that positional flexibility we're going to talk about all offseason long. But he wants guys who are physical, who can play press coverage, who are not only good in man, but also in zone coverage. That's what you get in Charles Bass. Again, listed at 6'1", but we've seen Nebraska try to go after corners who are 6'2", 6'3", heck, even 6'4". So expect that to be a common theme in the next couple of years for Nebraska recruiting. They like those taller corners in their defense. So those are some of the 3 early visitors, but now let's get into the spring game visitors, and this is a really big deal. Nebraska tries to bring in the best talent for the spring game. The spring game is scheduled at April 26th, so let's go over some of the top-tier players, starting off with TJ Lateef. I recently made a video about him, projecting him to be the next Nebraska quarterback, and yeah, he likely will be. He's currently favored to be a Nebraska commit. Right after we offered him, he scheduled this visit. And again, I'll talk about him a little bit more if you haven't seen that video. Again, 4-star quarterback out of California. We talk about that Calibraska pipeline they're trying to build. Dual threat player, guy who can run it as well as pass it. Has pretty good stats over there as a junior. The offer list is phenomenal. TJ Lateef is a guy you're going to want to keep your eyes on. Very similar prospect. I kept watching him, and I just kept reminding myself of Adrian Martinez as a prospect. Both California kids, they were very similar in their film. It was like night and day. It was very odd. They were very similar. But Nebraska trying to once again get a California quarterback. So watch TJ Lateef right there, who was coming on campus for the spring game. Sticking it with some more 4-stars, this guy, a top 50 player in the class of 2025. Listed at quarterback and wide receiver. One of the more rare athletes we've seen in the last couple of classes being recruited at both positions. Nebraska's recruiting him actually at the wide receiver spot, and that goes by the name of Michael Terry III. You see him on film again. Super speedy guy, 6'3". We talk about Nebraska wanting bigger players in the secondary. They want the exact same thing at the wide receiver spot. And again, top 50, guys being recruited all over the country. Is leaning towards some other programs, but Nebraska's really trying to chip away and try to see if they can land him. And that's a guy, again, you're going to keep your eyes out. Texas kid, Michael Terry. Very, very interesting recruiting process. I was surprised Nebraska even scheduled a visit. There clearly is interest there from both sides. We'll see if the Cornhuskers can land him. We're talking about a guy who I said he's a top 50 prospect. He's almost a 5-star. He probably will be a 5-star when the process is done and over with. So Michael Terry's another guy I want to keep your eye on. Keeping it with the offense, but I know Nebraska fans were waiting for this. We're talking about the offensive line now. Marcus Garcia out of Texas, 4-star offensive guard. Just a physical kid. Nebraska really trying to heavily recruit Texas. We know how many ties the staff has there, whether it's Garrett McGuire, whether it's just Matt Rule in general. Everybody has ties to Texas, and they're really trying to tap into that pool. But Marcus Garcia specifically, super big kid. Honestly, a little too big for the guard spot. 6'5", 270, 30-plus offers all over the country. And again, there is interest there in Nebraska. There's been interest his entire situation ever since he was offered. He scheduled 8 visits this spring. A lot of times, a lot of these incoming seniors are trying to schedule visits all over the country. So Nebraska really needs to fight for him. But a player who really, Matt Rule really wants on this O-line. I've been talking about the O-line extensively. If you're going to try to bring Nebraska back, you need to do it in the ways of the O-line and D-line. That's the only way, especially when you have Dylan Raiola, Daniel Kalen, potentially TJ Lateef now at that quarterback spot. You need to protect them. You need to do that with a top-tier O-line. The only way you do that is by recruiting. So watch out for Marcus Garcia. One other player that we're going to highlight, and then we'll go over some of our summer visitors just really quickly. But he goes by the name of Rylan Dillard Allen out of Phoenix, 3-star, almost a 4-star safety. Only 6 foot, so not the tallest guy in the world at that safety spot, but super explosive, super fast. And again, those are the buzzwords that Tony White loves. He loves guys who are speedy, guys who are explosive, guys who play physical, the way football should be played. That's what we're getting here with Rylan Dillard Allen. Terrible names. 10 other offers, a guy who's kind of being under-recruited. When you look at his film, you definitely see how talented he is. So another guy that Nebraska is trying to land there at the spring game. And so those are basically the premier players right now scheduled to go to the spring game. We're still a month or two away from the actual game. There's going to be a lot more prospects going to Lincoln for that. So we're going to keep the updates as it goes on. But these are some of the early guys who are committed to coming at that date for the spring game. So again, only the beginning for that. Real quick, I want to gloss over some of the summer visitors. We're not going to go in detail like we did with some of the other guys, but I'll go over them real quick so you're familiar. These are guys who are scheduled to visit from June to July. So 4-star corner Zadian Gentry. We have 2 Hawaiian players here, 3-star offensive lineman Houston. I'm going to butcher the last name, guys. Kahini Torres. And then 3-star safety Aiden Mantua. Sorry, I definitely butchered those 2 last names. Not great with Polynesian last names, but that shows you a common theme. Both 3-star prospects. Nebraska trying to build that Polynesian pipeline. There's a lot of talented guys who come out of Hawaii, come out of Nevada, come out of California, who are only going to Pac-12 schools. It's because they stick in Pacs, but Nebraska is trying to really break that free. Other than those guys, you also have 4-star wide receiver Cortez Mills, who the Cornhuskers have went after hard the last couple months. And then you have 4-star defensive lineman Jalen Williams, who I've talked about before in the past. So those are some other prospects coming on campus throughout the summer. Again, this is only the beginning. It's only late February, actually March when I released this video. So just watch out for those guys. Watch out for them in the coming weeks, in the coming months. So that's the video. We're really just talking about some of the guys visiting campus. Let me know what you think. Who are you excited about? Especially those spring game visitors. That is going to be massive for the Cornhuskers. So again, leave a comment down below. Make sure to like the video along with subscribe. And as always, folks, go Big Red, go Matt Rule, and see you in the next one.